Hi everybody, I'm here at my home in Provence and I want to share a recipe with you today called the Tarte Tatin, Tatin. It's a classic dessert in France. Okay, so the first step will be gathering your ingredients. You're going to need 8 good-sized apples. They can be Golden Delicious, they can be Fuji, they can be a variety, crisp Pink Lady, for example. The ones that I've chosen are Pomme de Renette. It's a variety in France, but they're really delicious and they're good crisp apples. You don't want the apples to turn mushy in the dessert itself. So the other ingredients you need, it's very simple. Sugar, and butter, water, and then at the end of the recipe we'll use a bit of apricot jam. I've got some good homemade apricot jam here. It's just the glazing on the top. And of course you need a pie crust. So for today's recipe, I'm going to let you choose your favorite method of making the pie crust. The peeling process is pretty simple. You just peel off the skin of the apple and then cut it 4 times. And if they're really large apples, you can cut them again in half. A small saucepan over medium heat, and it's just going to be our 3/4 cup of sugar, and we're going to add it progressively, maybe in 3 to 4 parts, so that the sugar essentially can liquefy, and then we will add, the next portion. Okay, so when the butter's melted and the sugar's dissolved, stir the mix really well before we add the apples in for poaching. You're going to probably poach them in several batches, maybe 2. I have a couple of plates like this from the apples that I sliced. When it's been about 10 minutes and you can just pierce the apples nicely without resistance with a knife, then take a tool like this and carefully take out the apples and place them in a strainer, and then start the second batch. And then once both batches are ready, then you'll be in a position to actually lay them into the tart. So I've begun to layer the apples inside of the baking dish. Obviously the caramelized portion is underneath and now it's hardened, and that's exactly how it should be. And we're going to keep layering apples. The important part in this step, they've been poached, so they're quite malleable and you can really squeeze them in. Next step in this recipe is to let this rest, ideally overnight. So you would cover this with foil, put it in the fridge, and come back to it again tomorrow. If you can't wait 24 hours or just till the next day, then a minimum of 2 hours in a cool place is necessary for the apples to set. Hey everybody, here we are the next day. We've let the apples rest in the fridge, and now we're going to take the pie crust that we've prepared and we're going to lay it over the tart, and we're going to measure how much we'll need to trim off. We want to leave 3/4 of an inch around the edge of the pie crust so that we can create a seal with the edge of our baking dish. We just need to put it in the oven and bake for 30 minutes. So I've just taken the tart out of the oven and we're going to let it cool completely before we flip it over.
Tu as fait une tarte tatin?
Okay, so now is our test. We're going to place a plate over the baking dish and then we're going to flip it over. So I'm going to try to do this in a fluid and fast motion. 1, 2, 3. I have some juices that are coming out, but all together,
Okay, so now is the final touch. I'm just going to glaze the top of the tart with a bit of warmed up the apricot jam. It just gives a bit of a final touch. It's nice and glistening glazed, ready to serve.